Please be seated. Still, the joy of Easter Day is with us. However, step by step, the feast becomes less intense. We have said that these weeks of Eastertide are about learning to live together with the risen Lord, to share our daily businesses with Him, and to learn to live in a way in which our daily business, our life, is transformed. So this is a time for developing a friendship with the risen Lord, because our worshipping Him as Son of God transforms us. Today's readings remind us of this possible contrast, how our life looks with Jesus. This Easter can make a difference in our lives. In the Acts of the Apostles, Saint Peter reminds us of our past, just as he reminded the Jewish people of their past. How the Messiah can be refused, how this friendship on a personal level can remain unrealized. So Eastertide is a turning point. Maria Svobodska, a Russian martyr killed in a German concentration camp in 1945, close to Ravensbrück, helps us to appreciate God's Easter appearances on a personal level, but also as a community. She writes, "I know, and I know it with all my being, with all my faith, with all the spiritual force with which a human being is endowed, that at this very moment God is visiting the world. And the world can accept this visitation. It can open its heart, and then our temporal fallen life will be immediately assimilated to the depths of eternity. And then our human cross will take on the features of the cross, which is both human and divine. And in the very midst of our mortal sorrows, we shall see the white robes of the angel who will proclaim to us, 'He who died is no longer in the tomb.' Then will humankind enter into the paschal joy of the resurrection." The reason I'm quoting her is that while last week I was away at Walsingham and Wells next the sea to paint, I found a book of her life, Pearl of Great Price. I was stricken by the fact that she died close to another concentration camp where my old Jewish friend, now 95, still alive, where he was liberated. I know my friend personally. I could recognize his suffering and life in the camp from the account of Maria Sobotska, from her life. Both of them are profound thinkers. The difference is that my friend, he was a young teenager in his 17th year, that he lost his faith in the camps. He lost his faith, his personal faith in God, but became a profoundly good and compassionate person after returning from the camps. For me, their lives illustrate the gift of faith, the very precious chance, the fact that in our lives the Easter visitation of God is active. It is not accidental that on this third Sunday of Easter we read of Jesus' visitation, as it were, of the disciples on the road to Emmaus. Our faith, our daily life has a real chance. A friendship is offered, personal growth. Just as my friend became a more mature person. All this offer is there if we seize the moment. Our second reading from the First Peter letter is worth quoting almost in full. Remember the ransom that was paid to free you from the useless way of life your ancestors handed down was not paid in anything corruptible, neither silver nor gold, but in the precious blood of a lamb without spot or stain, namely Christ, who, though known since before the world was made, has been revealed only in our time, at the end of ages, for your sake. Through him you now have faith in God, who raised him from the dead and gave him glory for that very reason, so that you would have faith and hope in God. I'd like to quote Maria Svobodska again, and there is an added reason to that. This second thought from her is about the appreciation of our life with Christ and about our part in it. It also helps us to give meaning to suffering in our world. It's very difficult to give meaning to human suffering. And I remember few of us from the community when I was visiting your mothers in hospital or friends who died from this community. Or my concern and obsession with the war. Every single day I'm haunted by the fact that we live a comfy life here and people are dying in the trenches. Just as in this country or on the continent or in Russia, soldiers gave their life. Actually, they didn't give their life. Their life was taken away from them in a meaningless, sudden way. And this quote from Maria Svobodska really helps me to appreciate my Christian life, our Christian life here. She writes, we need to understand the meaning of mobilization. If a soldier, on being mobilized, must leave his well-loved family, his normal work, even his vocation, if all is taken from the mobilized soldier and all demanded, then our mobilization as Christians must involve personal demands which are in no way milder. At this present moment, Christ and the life-giving Spirit make demands on the whole person in all its totality. The difference between this and national mobilization is that the state compels us to mobilize, whereas our faith awaits volunteers. And to my way of thinking, the fate of mankind depends on whether such volunteers will come forward, and if they do, on the degree of their self-sacrifice and dedication. But apart from God's will, support and grace, demands are also made on each of us to exert all our strength, to be fearless in the face of even the most daunting task, to generate the spirit of discipline, self-limitation, sacrifice and love, to lay down our lives for our friends, and to follow in Christ's footsteps to the Golgotha appointed for us. These are the words of Maria Swobodska. God needs us as His Easter volunteers. God needs our love as our volunteering. As an illustration, I was planning to show the paintings I painted in the past week. So now we can only imagine them. Without this pilgrimage, and it was a toiling work, being on the seashore from morning till evening, without this pilgrimage, the daily work of eye, muscle and mind and brushes, all that beauty which I managed to paint would have remained hidden from me. And as an interesting experience, hidden from the people who were so curious to see someone in today's world with an easel who goes and paints. So, what is your own painting? That beauty and hope that as a volunteer of our Easter faith, you can bring to others.